Ash had seen many species go to war in his 200 years of life. He had watched the proud fleets move in perfect formation. He had observed the calculating war machines execute flawless strategies. He had documented 17 major conflicts across the galaxy, and he understood the mathematics of battle better than most admirals. But he had never seen humans fight. The Coalition briefing room buzzed with nervous energy. Holographic displays showed the threshold system in painful detail. Red markers indicated enemy positions. The Dominion had fortified the asteroid belt with over 300 warships. Intelligence reports suggested they had advanced weaponry, shield technology that could withstand sustained bombardment, and a defensive position that would cost thousands of lives to break. "We should withdraw," said Admiral On, his blue skin darkening with concern. "Reassess, return with proper force numbers." Ash agreed silently. They had learned long ago that patience won wars. Rush into battle and you died. Plan carefully and you lived. It was simple mathematics. "We could negotiate," offered another voice. "The want territory, not bloodshed." The debate continued for hours. Ash took notes, as he always did. His role as military analyst meant he observed, recorded, and reported. He did not fight. His species considered direct combat wasteful when careful planning could avoid it entirely. Then a human voice cut through the discussion. "We'll go." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to the human section of the assembly. Commander stood, his dark hair cropped short, his uniform bearing the marks of previous battles. He was young by Coalition standards, barely 40 standard years. A child, really. "You'll what?" Admiral On asked. "My battle group will conduct reconnaissance," said. "We'll probe their defenses, identify weak points, give you the data you need to plan a proper assault." Ash studied the human commander. His expression was calm, almost casual. How could he be so relaxed? Did he not understand the danger? "Commander," the admiral said carefully, "our scans show at least 300 enemy vessels. How many ships do you have?" 23. 23 ships against 300 is not reconnaissance. It's suicide. Smiled. It was not a happy smile. Ash had studied human expressions extensively, and this one troubled him. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. "Admiral, with respect, you're thinking like someone who wants to survive," said. "Sometimes you have to think like someone who wants to win." "Those are the same thing," On replied. "No," said quietly, "they're really not." The admiral assigned Ash to shadow the human fleet. Someone needed to document what happened, and Ash was the best observer in the coalition. He packed his equipment and transferred to the human flagship, a vessel called Indomitable. The name struck him as overly optimistic. The human ship was nothing like vessels. Where his people preferred quiet efficiency, humans seemed to embrace chaos. Crew members shouted to each other across corridors. They laughed. They played music over the ship's speakers, something with heavy drums and aggressive guitars. Several officers were eating while reviewing tactical displays. "Don't you people take anything seriously?" Ash asked the officer assigned to guide him. The woman, who introduced herself as lieutenant, grinned. "We take winning seriously. Everything else is just noise." She led him to the observation deck where he could monitor the battle without being in danger. The deck offered a panoramic view of space and access to all ship systems, perfect for his work. "You can record everything from here," said, "though I warn you it might get bumpy." "I've observed many battles," Ash said. "I'm prepared." His grin widened. "Sure you are." The human fleet assembled near the asteroid belt's edge. 23 ships, most of them smaller than Coalition standard cruisers. They formed up in a loose formation that made Ash's tactical sense ache. Too spread out. Too vulnerable. No clear defensive strategy. Commander's voice came over the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is. We're going in to take a look around. Remember, we're just supposed to scout. Try not to start a war." Laughter echoed across the channel. Actual laughter. These humans were about to face overwhelming odds and they were joking about it. Of course, continued, if they shoot at us, feel free to shoot back. And if you're going to shoot, make it count. Earth is watching, and I don't want to tell them we ran away because we were scared. Wouldn't dream of it, boss, someone replied. The fleet moved forward. Ash activated all his recording equipment. This would be an important historical document. The first time humans truly fought alongside the coalition in a major operation. He expected to witness either a careful reconnaissance mission or a quick retreat when they encountered superior numbers. He did not expect what actually happened. As the human fleet entered the asteroid field, Ash noticed something odd. The crew around him wasn't tense. Pilot, a young man barely into his 20s, was humming along to the music still playing over the speakers. Engineer was checking weapon systems with the casual efficiency of someone preparing for a routine exercise. "Don't you people feel fear?" Ash asked, who had stayed on the observation deck. She looked at him with genuine confusion. "Of course we do. Fear keeps you sharp." "Then why does everyone seem so calm?" "Oh, we're not calm," said. "We're focused. There's a difference. Fear is just another piece of data. You acknowledge it, then you do the job anyway." Ash didn't understand. Fear was supposed to be a warning, a signal to retreat, to rethink, to survive. But humans seem to treat it like an inconvenience, something to work around rather than obey. The sensors lit up. Enemy contacts, dozens of them, moving to intercept. "Contact in 3 minutes," announced. "Multiple signals, I'm counting. 68 ships. They're forming an ambush pattern." 68 against 23. 3-to-1 odds. Protocol demanded immediate retreat. "All ships," said calmly. "Looks like they want to talk. Let's make sure they hear us loud and clear. Weapons free on my mark." Ash felt his body go cold. The human commander wasn't retreating. He was attacking. "Commander," Ash said, his voice breaking protocol, "you're outnumbered 3-to-1. This is not reconnaissance. This is war." Finished. "Yeah, I know. Hold on to something, observer. This is going to get interesting." The human ships accelerated, not away from the enemy, toward them. Ash watched in disbelief as 23 human vessels charged straight at 68 warships. The humans were even playing music now, broadcasting it on open channels. Something about thunder and fire. "If it bleeds, we can kill it," said quietly, almost to himself. "And if it doesn't bleed, we'll find out what it does instead." The two fleets collided, and Ash's understanding of war shattered like glass. The first volley of weapons fire turned space into a light show of destruction. Ships fired in coordinated patterns, their tactics textbook perfect. Energy beams crossed the void in geometric precision, designed to box in the human fleet and destroy them systematically. The humans ignored the geometry entirely. Ash watched Pilot throw the Indomitable into a spin that violated every safety regulation he knew. The ship rolled, dove, and accelerated in patterns that made no tactical sense. But somehow, the weapons fire that should have hit them passed through empty space. "Evasive pattern Delta," called out cheerfully. "Who wants to live forever?" The crew responded with shouts of approval. They were enjoying this. Ash clutched his recording equipment and tried not to be sick. His species didn't handle rapid motion well. "All ships break formation," commanded. "Free hunt. Find targets and make them regret waking up today." The human fleet scattered like water thrown against stone. Ash's tactical training screamed that this was wrong. You kept formation. You supported each other. You didn't break apart when outnumbered. But the humans weren't following any rules he recognized. One human destroyer, badly by 2 cruisers, accelerated directly between them. Ash waited for the inevitable destruction. Instead, the human ship fired every weapon it had in both directions simultaneously. At that range, shields meant nothing. Both ships took catastrophic damage. So did the human ship. Vessel Defiant is reporting major hull breaches, someone announced. Multiple decks exposed to vacuum. Can they fight? Asked. Captain says they've still got 3 weapons online and attitude thrusters. Then they can fight, said simply. The damaged human ship continued its attack, bleeding atmosphere and crew but still firing. Ash couldn't comprehend it. A captain would withdraw for repairs. Self-preservation was logical. This was madness. Observer, you might want to hold on, said beside him. She was strapping herself into a seat. Commander's about to do something stupid. What do you mean? He's got that look, the one that means he's going to. The Indomitable suddenly reversed thrust and swung around. Ash was thrown against his restraints as the ship positioned itself between a damaged human frigate and 3 incoming destroyers. Sir, we're taking fire, reported. Shields at 60%, 50, 40. Hold position, said calmly. Frigate Resolve needs time to get their people to escape pods. We're going to die protecting an already destroyed ship, Ash asked in disbelief. Looked at him like he'd said something stupid. It's not destroyed until the crew is dead. Those are our people on that frigate. We don't leave our people. The shields failed. Energy weapons raked across the Indomitable's hull. Alarms shrieked. Somewhere below, Ash knew crew members were dying, all to buy time for people on a ship that was already doomed. Resolve reports all pods away, someone announced. Good, said. Now we can stop being nice. All weapons fire. The Indomitable unleashed everything it had. At this range, with shields down, it was suicide. The humans were trading blow for blow with 3 enemy ships, accepting damage that would kill them just to inflict damage back. Then something impossible happened. One of the destroyers exploded, then another. The third tried to retreat, but human missiles tracked it down and tore it apart. How? Ash whispered. How did you win that exchange? We didn't care about winning, said, her voice tight as she monitored casualty reports. We cared about them losing more. There's a difference. Across the battle space, similar scenes played out. Human ships took damage that should have destroyed them and kept fighting. When weapons failed, they rammed. When engines died, they used their last moments to position themselves as obstacles or to transmit targeting data to other ships. A human fighter pilot named Jin was on his 5th sortie when his craft took critical damage. Ash watched the sensor data. The fighter was dead, power failing, weapons offline. Jin aimed his dying ship at an ammunition transport and hit his remaining thrusters. The explosion took out 6 nearby enemy vessels. Fighter 13 is gone, someone reported quietly. Market said, we'll remember. They all would, Ash realized. Every human on every ship knew which of their people had just died, and instead of weakening their resolve, it seemed to make them fight harder. Medical to bridge's voice came over the comm. We've got wounded coming in from all decks. I need power to Medical Bay 3. Negative, replied the chief engineer. That section has no hull integrity. Evacuate. I've got 15 wounded down here who can't move, said. Ash realized she'd left the observation deck. When had that happened? I'm not leaving them. The hull could collapse completely at any moment, the engineer said. Then I guess I'll treat them fast. Medical staying operational. Send me whatever power you can spare. Ash checked the internal sensors. Was indeed in a section of the ship that was barely holding together, working on wounded crew while explosions rocked the vessel around her. Why, he asked no one in particular, why stay when death is certain? Because still fighting, said from the pilot's seat. While the commander fights, we all fight. That's how it works. The battle raged for 2 hours. By all mathematical models, the humans should have been destroyed in the first 30 minutes. They were outnumbered and taking catastrophic casualties. But the fleet was retreating. Ash watched his sensors in stunned silence. 68 ships had engaged 23. Now, only 41 vessels remained operational, and they were pulling back. The humans had destroyed 27 enemy ships, at a cost of 18 of their own. "They're running," said with satisfaction. "Knew they would." "You lost almost your entire fleet," Ash said. "We won," corrected. "Everything else is just details." Commander's face appeared on the main screen. His uniform was torn and blood ran from a cut above his eye. Behind him, smoke filled the bridge. "All ships regroup at Rally Point Beta," he said. "Get damage reports, get wounded to medical, and someone tell the Coalition we've cleared their forward picket line. They're welcome." The channel went quiet for a moment, then smiled, that same dangerous smile from before. "Also, tell them we're going deeper. We didn't come this far to turn around." Ash felt something he'd never experienced in 200 years of observing warfare. It wasn't fear exactly. It was the realization that he was watching something that shouldn't be possible. The humans had just won a battle they had no mathematical chance of winning. And they were planning to do it again. "Lieutenant," Ash called over the comm, "you can evacuate medical now. The battle is over." "Can't," replied. Her voice was tired but steady. "Still got 17 people who need treatment. The battle's over when everyone's taken care of." Ash looked at the tactical display. The sensors showed something that made his blood cold. The 68 ships had been just the outer defenses. Deeper in the asteroid belt, another 200 vessels waited. The humans had 5 operational ships left, and they were already plotting a course toward the enemy. "This is insanity," Ash said. "No," replied, already programming the navigation. "This is Tuesday." The pilot caught Ash's expression and laughed. "Don't worry, observer. You wanted to see how humans fight. You're about to get a really good look." The 5 battered human ships limped forward, toward an enemy force that outnumbered them 40-1. And somewhere on the Indomitable, Ash heard music start playing again. Something about not going quietly into the night. The Coalition command spent 2 full days arguing while the human fleet held position at the edge of the inner defense zone. Ash attended every meeting, presenting data that should have settled all debate. The numbers were clear. 5 human ships could not defeat 200 vessels. It was mathematically impossible. Yet the humans refused to leave. Ash spent his time reviewing human historical files. He needed to understand what drove this species to such illogical behavior. What he found disturbed him more than the battles had. Human history was an endless cycle of impossible victories. They had fought wars that lasted decades. They had defended positions against overwhelming odds not for hours, but for years. Their history was filled with stories of small groups defeating massive armies, of last stands that somehow turned into victories. But it was the pattern that troubled him most. Humans lost battles constantly. They lost far more often than they won, especially at the beginning of conflicts, but they kept fighting anyway. They treated defeat not as an ending but as information. "We lose until we learn how to win," one human general had written centuries ago. "And then we never stop winning." On the 3rd day, Coalition Command sent Ash to convince the humans to withdraw. He found Commander dead. The injuries from the first battle had been worse than reported. Had commanded for 2 more days before his body finally failed. The new commander was a woman named. She was older than, with gray streaks in her black hair and scars on her face that spoke of many battles. She met Ash in what remained of the Indomitable's briefing room. Half the chairs were gone, blown away when that section had lost pressure. "Commander," Ash began, "I've been sent to discuss your withdrawal." "We're not withdrawing," said simply. "The Coalition has decided this operation requires more planning. You've accomplished your reconnaissance. Your mission is complete." "Our mission is to clear this system," said. "That's not complete." Ash pulled up holographic displays showing the enemy fleet. 200 ships. He showed human force strength. 5 ships all damaged, running on limited supplies. "This is impossible," he said. "You cannot win." "Probably not," agreed, "but we can make them lose." "That's the same thing." Smiled, and Ash saw's dangerous smile reflected in her expression. "No, it's really not." She explained it like he was a child. If the humans would claim victory, they would become bolder, attack more systems, kill more civilians. The coalition would face years of conflict. But if the humans stayed and fought, even if they lost, they would damage the fleet enough that the enemy couldn't press their advantage. "You're proposing to sacrifice yourselves," Ash said. "We're proposing to do our job," corrected. "The sacrifice part is just a possibility we're willing to accept." Ash met with the other human crew members, trying to understand this madness. In the engineering bay, he found welding weapon systems together in ways that violated 73 safety protocols. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Making sure these guns fire," said, not looking up from her work. "We've got maybe 30 missiles left across the entire fleet, so I'm rigging the energy weapons to pull from life support. We won't need oxygen if we're winning. And if you're losing, won't need it then either." In the pilot-ready room, he found Jin preparing for what would be his 10th consecutive combat sortie. The young pilot's hands shook as he dosed himself with stimulants. "You need rest," Ash said. "I'll rest when this is done," Jin replied. His eyes were bloodshot, his face pale. "Right now people need me flying." "You could die from exhaustion before the battle even starts." Jin looked at him with eyes that seemed much older than his face. "Every breath I take is one more breath to fight with. I'll breathe as long as I can, and I'll fight as long as I'm breathing." Ash tried logic with Tactical Officer, showing her probability calculations. They had a 0.3% chance of victory. 0.3%. "So you're saying there's a chance," said. "That's not what those numbers mean." "Sure it is," said. She pulled up personnel files. "Every person on these ships volunteered for this mission. Every single one. They knew the odds. They came anyway." "Why?" "Because someone has to," said simply. "Someone has to stand up and say, not one step further. It might as well be us." Ash returned to Coalition Command and presented his findings. The humans would not retreat. They would fight until destroyed. The casualties would be total. "Then let them die," Admiral On said coldly. "We tried to save them. This is their choice." But something had changed in Ash. He had spent 5 days with humans now. He had watched them laugh in the face of death, work through injuries that should have killed them, and persist when any logical being would quit. "Permission to remain with the human fleet," he said. The room went silent. "You're an observer," the Admiral said. "You observe from safety. That's the entire point." "I can't observe from here," Ash said. "If you want accurate data on what happens when humans fight against impossible odds, I need to be there. I need to see how it ends." "You know how it ends," On said. "They all die." "Maybe," Ash said, "but maybe I've been calculating with the wrong variables." He returned to the Indomitable. The Dominion had sent terms. Leave now and the Coalition could negotiate. Stay and the humans would be destroyed. Sent a 2-word response: "Come closer." The human fleet began preparations. Ash watched them work, finished her weapon modifications. Jin ran flight simulations despite not sleeping in 4 days. Medical Officer organized her supplies, knowing she'd need to treat massive casualties. Supply Officer Ara redistributed everything from damaged sections to operational ones. "The dead won't need it," Ara said when asked about stripping equipment from destroyed areas. "The living might." On the 5th day, sensors detected movement. The fleet was coming. 200 capital ships moving in perfect formation. Behind them, support vessels and fighters brought their total force to over 300 combat units. Against 5 human ships. The coalition opened a betting pool on how long humans would last. The highest estimate was 30 minutes. The lowest was 5. Ash didn't place a bet. He'd stopped thinking in terms of time. Humans didn't measure battles in minutes. They measured them in determination. Commander addressed the fleet one last time. All ships, this is. I won't insult you with speeches about glory or honor. You know why we're here. You know what we're facing. And you know what we have to do. She paused. In the silence, Ash heard the breathing of the crew around him, every one of them listening, every one of them ready. We didn't come this far to come this far, said. We came to finish the job, so let's finish it. All ships charge weapons and prepare for combat. When they get close enough, we go straight down their throats. Make every shot count. Make every moment matter. And make sure that when this is over, the galaxy remembers that humans don't quit. The 5 ships formed up, not in a defensive position, in an attack wedge pointed directly at the enemy fleet. They're forming for a charge, the commander sent over open channels. 5 ships against 300. Have humans gone mad? Replied personally, probably, but you're going to find out just how dangerous crazy can be. The 2 fleets faced each other across the void. 300 vessels, pristine and perfect and confident. 5 human ships, battered and burning and absolutely refusing to yield. All ships said quietly, give them hell. The human fleet accelerated, not away from the enemy, into them. And Ash finally understood. Humans didn't calculate odds because odds didn't matter. They decided what needed to happen and then they made it happen, reality be damned. The charge had begun. The first missile barrage should have ended everything. 300 ships fired simultaneously, filling space with enough explosives to destroy a small moon. The humans flew directly into it. Ash watched from the observation deck as pilot threw the Indomitable through maneuvers that broke every safety guideline. The ship twisted, rolled, and dove through the weapon's fire. Missiles exploded around them, close enough that the shockwaves rattled the hull. We're not supposed to survive this, Ash said. Then don't tell the ship, replied, his hands dancing across the controls. Across all human channels, music played. Not battle hymns or warrior songs, but something stranger. Communications officer had chosen songs about standing firm, about small groups facing giants, about ordinary people doing impossible things. The heard it too. Ash monitored their communications. The enemy commanders sounded confused, then annoyed, then something else. Something that might have been uncertainty. Why are they playing music? One captain demanded. This is a battle, not a celebration. Maybe they're already dead and don't know it, another replied. But they weren't dead. Against all probability, the human ships broke through the first wave of fire. They'd taken damage, terrible damage, but they were still flying, still shooting, still advancing. All ships target their command cluster, ordered. We're going for the throat. The human formation drove like a spear toward the center of the fleet. Enemy ships moved to intercept, dozens of them, trying to box in the humans and destroy them. The humans didn't try to evade. They fired everything they had and kept flying forward. Fighter pilot Jin led his squadron into the teeth of the fighter screen. Ash tracked the battle, watching icons blink out as human fighters died. But for every human lost, 3 fighters fell. How? Ash asked. How are they winning individual engagements? They're not better pilots, said from her station. She was broadcasting music while simultaneously managing tactical communications. They're just willing to trade better. A pilot will break off when damaged. Our pilots fly until they physically can't anymore. Jin's voice came over the comm, steady despite the chaos. Fighter lead to all wings. I've got a shot on their ammunition ship, but I'll have to go through their point defense. That's suicide, another pilot said. Yeah, Jin agreed. Someone record this and send it to my family. Tell them I went out flying. Ash watched the sensor data. Jin's fighter, already damaged, aimed itself at a massive supply vessel. Point defense guns tracked him, fired, and hit. The fighter's shields failed, armor breached. The craft was dying. Jin didn't pull away. His fighter crashed into the ammunition ship at full speed. The explosion was beautiful and terrible. It took out the supply ship, 3 nearby destroyers, 2 cruisers, and a command vessel. 20% of the local formation destroyed in a single moment. "Fighter lead is gone," someone reported. There was grief in the voice, but also pride. "Count 12 enemy ships destroyed." "Mark it," said quietly. "He bought us an opening, use it." The human ships punched through the gap Jin had created. They were deep in the formation now, surrounded by enemies. A killing ground. The humans treated it like an opportunity. "All ships free fire," commanded. "Target anything that moves. Make every shot count because we won't get a chance to reload." The battle became chaos. Human ships fired in all directions, not trying to defend themselves but to inflict maximum damage. The Indomitable took hits that should have destroyed it. Hull breaches opened across 3 decks. Secondary explosions rocked the engineering section. His voice came over the comm, somehow still calm. "Engineering to bridge. Fire in sections 7 through 12. Reactor containment at 40%. Life support failing in multiple areas. And those weapon modifications I made, they're working great." "How long can you keep us fighting?" asked. "Until we explode or win, whichever comes first." A dreadnought moved to finish the Indomitable. It was 10 times their size, with weapons that could crack a planet. The logical action was to flee. "Ordered a ramming course." "Commander," Ash said, "that's a dreadnought, we can't." "Watch us," said. But before the Indomitable could close, a human destroyer called Relentless interposed itself. The smaller ship fired every weapon into the dreadnought's shields, overloading them through sheer volume of fire. Then it rammed. The dreadnought survived, the destroyer didn't, but the collision had damaged the enemy's engines. It was dead in space. "Relentless is gone," tactical officer reported. "But the dreadnought is immobile. Marine teams from Dauntless are requesting permission to board." "Granted," said. Ash watched in disbelief as human Marines, led by a man named Wu, launched from their ship in boarding pods. 17 soldiers attacking a vessel that held 3,000 warriors. "They'll be massacred," Ash said. "Maybe," replied. She was still broadcasting, but now she was sending the Marine team's combat chatter across all frequencies. "But they'll take a lot of with them." Except the Marines didn't die. They fought through the dreadnought corridor by corridor, accepting casualties but never stopping. When they ran low on ammunition, they used weapons. When weapons failed, they used explosives. When explosives ran out, they got creative. "Marine team to fleet," Wu's voice came through, breathing hard. "We've captured the bridge. This ship is ours now. Requesting technical team to help us figure out how to fire these guns." The impossible had happened. 17 humans had captured a dreadnought. The fleet began making mistakes. They had expected a quick battle. They had prepared for humans to break and run. But the humans just kept coming, kept fighting, kept inflicting damage even as they died. "Intercepting command traffic," reported. "They're arguing about whether to press the attack or regroup. Some captains are requesting permission to fall back." "They fear us," said with satisfaction. "They have 300 ships and they fear 5. "Not 5 anymore," someone corrected. "We're down to 3 operational vessels." 3 ships, the Indomitable barely holding together, the Dauntless missing half its weapons, and the Defiant somehow still flying despite having no business being in one piece. Against 200 remaining vessels, the humans had destroyed 100 enemy ships, but the cost had been terrible. 67% casualties, hundreds dead. The survivors were wounded, exhausted, running on stimulants and pure determination. His face appeared on Ash's screen. Blood ran from a cut on her forehead. Her uniform was burned. Behind her, the bridge was a disaster of sparking systems and emergency lighting. "All ships," she said, I won't lie to you, we're barely holding on, we've lost good people. We've taken damage we can't repair, and we're still outnumbered 60-1. She paused, and Ash saw something in her expression that chilled him. Not fear, not desperation, certainty. "But here's what they don't understand," continued. "We're not here to die for something. We're here to make them die for nothing. Every ship they lose is one less ship threatening our homes. Every casualty they take is one less soldier attacking our families. We're not dying here today. We're investing in tomorrow." "They're going to charge again," Ash said in disbelief. 3 ships against 200, and they're going to charge again." "Of course they are," said. "They're human." The 3 battered vessels formed up one more time. Their hulls were breached. Their weapons were nearly exhausted. Their crews were dying. And they aimed themselves at the heart of the enemy fleet. "All ships," said, "one more time. Give them everything, make them remember this. Make them tell stories about the day humans came calling. Charge." The 3 ships accelerated. Behind them, Ash knew, the coalition was watching. 12 different species monitoring the battle. And then something impossible happened. Jump signatures appeared across the system. Coalition vessels, dozens of them, materializing from faster-than-light travel. Reinforcements, not just one species but 12. Ships from every coalition member. "Coalition fleet to human forces," Admiral On's voice came over the comm. "We're here to assist. Apologies for the delay. We were organizing a proper response." "Better late than never," replied. Her voice held tears. "Glad you could make the party." The coalition fleet swept into the battle. 12 species, inspired by humanity's stand, joined the charge. Not because the tactics were sound, not because victory was certain, but because they refused to let such courage die alone. The fleet broke. Faced with renewed assault, their commanders lost their nerve. Ships began jumping out of the system, fleeing rather than face an enemy that simply would not quit. The Battle of Threshold was over. Humanity had won. 3 days after the battle, Ash walked through the wreckage of human ships. The coalition had sent recovery teams to salvage what could be saved and document what remained. He recorded everything, as was his duty, but now his reports felt inadequate. How could numbers capture what he had witnessed? The Indomitable drifted in space, its engines dead, its hull breached in 17 places. Crew members floated through the corridors in zero gravity, making repairs that would take months to complete. They worked slowly, carefully, like people who had suddenly remembered they wanted to live. Ash found Commander in what remained of the medical bay. She sat on a damaged bench, refusing treatment while medics worked on her crew. Her arm was broken. Burns covered her left side. She had been awake for 93 straight hours. "You should be resting," Ash said. "So should they," replied, gesturing to the medical staff working on dozens of wounded. "But work doesn't stop because we're tired." The final casualty report sat in Ash's data pad. Of the 23 ships and 4,000 crew that had entered the battle, only 3 ships remained operational. 82% of human personnel were dead or wounded. By any military standard, it was a catastrophe. By human standards, it was a victory. "Was it worth it?" Ash asked. Was quiet for a long moment. Around them, the sounds of medical equipment beeped steadily. Someone moaned in pain. A medic called for more supplies. "That's the wrong question," finally said. "It's not about worth, it's about necessity, the needed to be stopped. We stopped them, everything else is just mathematics." 82% casualties is more than mathematics. "Yes," agreed. "It's also victory, and sometimes that has to be enough." Ash spent the next day interviewing survivors. He found Engineer in the reactor room, her right arm in a medical sling, but still working on repairs with her left hand. "The reactors are 30% efficient," she said without being asked. "I can get that to 50 if I work 18 hours straight, maybe 60 if I skip meals." "You need to heal," Ash said. "I need to get this ship running," corrected. "Healing happens when work is done." He found Pilot in the fighter bay, sleeping in his cockpit because the crew quarters had no atmosphere. The young man had flown 16 missions in 5 days. He'd survived when 70% of his fellow pilots had not. "Why are you still here?" Ash asked. "You could transfer to a coalition ship, get proper rest, proper food." "Opened one eye. And leave my bird, not a chance. She got me through that mess. Least I can do is stay with her while she heals." Communications officer had remained at her station through the entire battle. She'd broadcast music, coordinated tactical data, and maintained morale even as the ship fell apart around her. Now she sat at her console, compiling messages from families of the dead. 4,000 crew," she said quietly. 3,287 casualties. Every one of them was someone's child, someone's friend, someone's family. "Do you regret it?" Ash asked. "Every death," said. "But not the mission. They knew the risks. They went anyway. That was their choice. I won't dishonor that choice by wishing they'd chosen differently." Tactical officer was documenting everything, creating a detailed record of the battle for Earth's military archives. She worked with the precision of someone who understood that history needed to remember. "Why record it all?" Ash asked. "The battle is over." "The battle is over," agreed. "The war continues. Someone will need to study this, learn from it, figure out what we did right and what we did wrong. So the next time humans face impossible odds, maybe fewer of them die." Supply officer Ara had redistributed everything from the destroyed ships to the survivors. Ammunition, food, medical supplies, even personal effects. She worked alone in a cargo bay, sorting through belongings that would never be claimed. "The dead don't need these things," she said when Ash found her. "But their families will want them, so I make sure everything goes where it should." Marine Wu and his team were still on the captured dreadnought, helping coalition engineers understand systems. Of his 17 Marines, only 5 had survived. They worked with quiet efficiency, never mentioning their losses. "We took a ship," Wu said simply. "Now we help others use it. That's the mission." On the 4th day, Ash compiled his report for the coalition. He had recorded battles for 200 years. He had documented victories and defeats for 17 species, but he had never written anything like this. His fingers hesitated over the data entry system. How could he explain what he had seen? How could he make other species understand what humans had done and why it mattered? He began writing. Initial assessment was incorrect. This analyst believed human forces would be destroyed within 30 minutes of engagement. Actual combat duration, 5 days. Human casualties, 82%. Enemy casualties, 64% and continuing to rise from delayed effects. He paused, the numbers didn't capture it. He tried again. Human military doctrine appears to weaponize concepts other species consider weaknesses. Where coalition forces calculate acceptable loss rates and withdraw when exceeded, humans appear to view casualties as investments rather than failures. Each loss increases remaining forces' determination rather than decreasing it. Still inadequate, he deleted it and started over. After 5 days of observation and combat, this analyst must conclude, "We asked the wrong question. We asked if humanity could win. The correct question is, what will humanity endure to achieve victory? The answer is, anything, everything, whatever it takes." Better, but still missing something. Ash thought about Jin flying his dying fighter into an ammunition ship, about treating wounded in a collapsing medical bay, about dying but fighting for 2 more days anyway, about refusing rest until every wounded crew member was cared for. He wrote one more section, breaking protocol to include analysis that felt more like philosophy. Recommendation to Coalition Command: do not make humanity your enemy, not because they are technologically superior. They are not. Not because they outnumber us. They do not. But because humanity has weaponized the one resource every species considers finite: willingness to sacrifice. When facing humans in combat, enemy forces must account for variables that don't exist in conventional warfare. Human soldiers fight harder when wounded. Human ships become more dangerous as they sustain damage. Human crews increase their combat effectiveness in direct proportion to how close to death they come. The psychological impact cannot be overstated. Forces outnumbered humans 60 to 1 and broke before the battle concluded. Not because they were losing, they were still winning numerically, but because they could not comprehend facing an enemy that treated death as merely another tactical option. Ash stopped and read what he'd written. It was the most unprofessional report he'd ever filed. It contained speculation, philosophy, and observations that went far beyond simple military analysis. He submitted it anyway. On the fifth day, Coalition Command asked him to meet with Admiral On. The Admiral read the report while Ash waited. "This is highly irregular," On said finally. "Yes, sir. You're recommending we treat humanity differently than other coalition species." "I'm recommending we understand humanity differently," Ash corrected. "Every species fights. Humans are the only ones who fight like losing isn't an option. They lost 82% of their forces and won the battle," Ash said. "That's my point. They don't measure victory the way we do." On was quiet for a long moment. "Where would you place them in our military structure?" "At the front," Ash said immediately. "Always at the front, not because we trust them most, but because I pity whatever enemy stands in their path." He found one last time before the human fleet departed for Earth. The repairs had progressed enough that the 3 surviving ships could limp home. It would take months, but they would make it. "I wanted to ask you something," Ash said. "Before you fought, I told you the odds of victory were 0.3%. Did you know that?" "I knew it was bad," said. "Then why charge? Why fight when you knew you would probably die?" Looked at him with tired eyes. "Because retreating was also death, just slower. We chose to die on our feet, running toward our enemy, not on our backs running away. The funny thing about choosing how you die, sometimes you choose not to." She limped away, favoring her injured leg, leaving Ash alone with his thoughts. Years later, Ash taught at the Coalition War College. He had become the galaxy's foremost expert on human military psychology. His lecture hall was always full. Students from every coalition species came to learn. He showed them the battle footage. Every time the reaction was the same: silence, disbelief, and then slowly understanding. "This is why the stars fear humanity," Ash told each new class. "Not their technology, not their numbers, but because humanity decided, somewhere in their violent history, that dying brave is better than living afraid. And once a species makes that choice, truly makes it, they become the most dangerous force in the galaxy." He paused the footage on an image of 3 battered human ships charging toward 200 enemy vessels. "Look at this," he said. "Really look. 5 ships became 3. 3 ships faced 200, and they charged anyway, not because they were stupid, not because they were suicidal, but because humans have learned something the rest of us haven't." "What's that?" a student asked. Ash smiled. "That the last one standing wins. And humans have decided that no matter what happens, no matter the odds, no matter the cost, they will be the last one standing." The lecture hall was silent. "Questions?" Ash asked. A young raised a hand. "Sir, how do you defeat an enemy like that?" Ash thought about still fighting with a broken arm, about Jin flying until he died, about commanding for 2 days while dying, About 4,000 humans who charged into certain death and somehow survived long enough to turn it into victory. "You don't," he said simply. "You either make them your allies or you hope they never notice you at all." He dismissed the class and sat alone in the empty hall, watching the battle footage play again. After all these years, it still amazed him. 23 ships had charged into the void. 3 had survived. And the galaxy would never be the same.